So first of all, I just want to say that this video is probably not for you if you use cannabis to get stoned to escape your problems. No judgment, because if you're emotionally hurting, cannabis, in the scope of things we take to feel better, it's a good tool because once you decide to stop numbing and get to the root of your issues, there's little or no side effects to giving up cannabis. Now, that's unlike a lot of the prescription psychotropics, that is, mind-altering drugs that are supposed to make you feel better. And in using cannabis in a thoughtful and intentional way is much different because we go toward what's bothering you rather than pushing it away. And employing cannabis in this way calls for discipline and a commitment to do what it takes to feel better. You know, it's not just a passing interest, but a real dedication to wanting to return to clarity and well-being, free of the difficult emotions that are troubling you. If you have a past history of dependence on cannabis and you're apprehensive about using it in any way, shape, or form, it's better to skip the cannabis. And in my work, you still do the deep exploration without it until you're able to strengthen your nervous system and hence become more centered. And then if you want, bringing in the cannabis intentionally at that point. So having said that, the big difference between using cannabis for consciousness work and using psychedelics for consciousness work is that cannabis works best when you can include the plant medicine in an existing framework, like we do in our approach in emotional liberation. Psychedelics is different. If it's not in a clinical setting, and the vast majority of use is not in a clinical setting, then basically the approach to psychedelics is to let the substance have its way with you. And what does that look like? Well, the idea would be that you're in a good headspace and in a comfortable environment, going in with a skilled facilitator. And then you let it have its way with you. The psychedelic is a free spirit molecule moving through you. And this can bring up the specter of a difficult trip. And that can be a wild card. Your psychedelic trip could be a lovely, pleasant, and inspiring inner journey, or it could be very upsetting and feeling like the trip's never going to end. So as a clinician, I like working with cannabis because of its strong safety profile. If someone takes too much, they can sleep it off or simply take CBD to counter the THC high. So a difficult trip using cannabis, it's highly unlikely. Other reasons in going with cannabis over psychedelics is that it can be used with greater frequency as it's easier to integrate and recover from than psychedelics, which can exhaust people both physically and psychologically. I'm not ruling out psychedelics, but if a person is intent on working with psychedelics and is unsure and a little apprehensive, practice this inner work with cannabis first, letting you open the door and get used to the feeling before walking into a full-blown psychedelic portal. Working with cannabis will help set your expectations, and with our emotional liberation work, the practices will rev up your nervous system to fully engage with what's coming up for you. And then there are the more practical matters in comparing cannabis to psychedelics. Cannabis is increasingly legal in most states, making it very accessible, as we know. With psychedelics, unfortunately, you have to procure it on the black market, and in doing that, you have no idea what it's been mixed or cut with, including some pretty unsafe adulterants. With cannabis, in most places where it's been legalized, there's enforced testing for additives and contaminants. I like that. I like to know that my medicine is clean. But the bottom line really is that by doing the work within an effective framework, cannabis amplifies and stirs the psyche like psychedelics. Yeah. So there's my take on dancing with cannabis instead of, or maybe as a tryout before doing psychedelics. I'd love to get your thoughts on the matter. I invite you to drop down to the comments section and let me know where you land with all of this. I'm Becca Williams, and I want you to lead your most magnificent life, and I want to help you do that.